Planning Board meeting open. Rob, will you start the roll call?
Sure. Okay, Ms. Pecora. Mr. Gidali.
Here.
Let's see, Mr. Cohen.
Here.
Mr. Conyer.
Here.
Yep. Mr. McCarthy.
Here.
Mr. Hanson.
Here.
Miss Lanzetta.
Here.
Miss Gatto.
Here.
Mr. Bogus.
Here.
Mr. Wilkin.
Here.
Mr. Baden. Okay. Mr. Brown.
Here.
Mr. Lavity.
Here.
Ms. Welton. Okay, Mr. Watkins. Mr. Almquist.
Here.
Mr. Markowitz was excused. Let's see. Mr. Rudikoff. Here. Mr. Travers or Ms. Weiner.
Mr. Travers has to be excused tonight. He may make it late, but he has to be excused.
Okay. Mr. Murray.
Here.
Mr. McLaughlin.
Here.
Let's see. Mr. Gagliardi.
Here.
All right. No. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I think
We're good. We got a quorum.
We do. Were you taking it too, Des?
Yep, I was.
Okay, good.
Rob, I don't know if you wanted to, but there seems to be captions on the screen for some reason.
Yeah, I know there are. I'm doing a live transcript. Let me see if I can.
I should have known that you knew.
They're very funny.
Let me see if I can. I'm doing. Let's see. I'll try and turn off the transcript.
There's Mr. Baden.
How's that now? That worked. Yeah, okay, it's off. No, it's.
Nope.
No, it's not.
Oh well.
Anything.
Minutes, Chair.
Do I have a motion to approve the last month's meeting minutes as amended?
I'll move it, McLaughlin.
I would make one comment on that. I noticed in reviewing it today, I can call Mary Ann about it tomorrow, but there's just a typo on page 2 under community reports where it said Mr. Watkins asked why they county. It should be the county. It was just a simple typo, but I can tell Mary Ann about that tomorrow.
Okay.
So as amended,
As
Second.
amended. Okay, I have a motion and I have a second.
who was the second? Was that you?
Glenn.
Thanks, Glenn.
Yep.
Yeah, if you folks would do me a favor when you vote or motion, please state your name first. Thank you.
I already did.
I know, Vince, I got you.
Okay, anyone opposed? Motion carries, the minutes are approved.
Lavity's an abstention on that.
Thank you.
Abstained?
Lavity.
Thank you. Okay. Education and training opportunities. Mary Ann's been putting out quite a few. The New York State Planning Federation's also been doing a few. Has anybody taken any advantage of any of them?
I've taken like 3.
Them, I'm sorry. Has anybody else had problems with the webinar platform that the New York State Planning Federation is using?
Nope.
Because my computer, I don't know, maybe you all have newer computers than I do.
I didn't have any trouble.
I
took the webinar this afternoon and there wasn't any problems.
You know, I registered for that. I couldn't get on.
So just as a upcoming opportunity, we've reached out to our consultants for the Housing Action Plan and asked them if they would put together a presentation of the Housing Smart Community Initiative that's in that plan for a training opportunity for planning boards and ZBAs, as well as invite the public and town boards to that. We're looking at a time frame right now. I was hoping for middle of June. We may have to put it off into July, given the workload that's out there. But just be aware that we're actively working on a presentation to the boards relative to the housing action plan that the county has completed in I think February.
Thank you, Dennis. Okay. Any community reports?
Yeah, I have a couple. McLaughlin here. First, the old Dragon Inn in Saugerties. That's been vacant for some time because of a fire. Was sold again for a local person. So that's item number one. Item number two, the Orpheum Theater, if anybody hasn't seen it, has been sold to the same group, from what I understand, that owns the theater, I think in Rhinebeck or Red Hook, one of the two. So it's been sold.
Okay. Anyone else have any community reports?
Yeah, Mike Baden, town of Rochester. We are searching for a new planning board and zoning board of appeals secretary. We had a sudden resignation of our current secretary, and so if anybody knows of anyone who has those skill sets, if you could pass them my direction, that would be great.
Yeah, William Murray with New Paltz Village. Just an update, the firehouse is underway, but we're finding we're getting delays as a result of reductions in supply. So we're a couple weeks behind schedule. Apparently rebar is hard to get, as well as many other materials that are required for building the structure. And secondly, Village Board, we approved our short-term rental law last week.
Congratulations, Bill.
Yeah, thank you.
Congratulations.
That was a long haul, as you can imagine.
Okay. All right. I personally don't have any thing to report. And I don't think there are any committee reports. So, planning department reports. Financial.
Again, this is for illustrative purposes. That the board doesn't have jurisdiction over the financial work for the department, but we're in good shape right now. I think the issue right now is being able to find the amount of effort that it takes to move some of the projects forward, given timeframes that we have. But from a financial standpoint, we're in good shape. We would anticipate that we will expend all our contractual money by the end of the year, and may run a little short on that. But I have we're able to essentially do planning work out of the capital program if needed. There's a placeholder in the capital program for planning work for the Transportation Council. So we're in good shape from a financial perspective. We also have, I think, considerable savings because we don't have a deputy director on staff. We are doing interviews next Monday, right, Robert?
We're doing 4 interviews on Monday and 1 on Tuesday.
Yeah, so we're interviewing for that position on Monday and Tuesday next week, and hopefully have somebody on board by middle to end of June. So that would be good. But from a financial perspective, we're in good shape, and the county is in good shape. The county has anticipating a $17 million and change influx of cash from a COVID recovery from the American Recovery Act in the first tranche, and then that's for this year, and then for next year there'd be a similar tranche coming through for next year. And the county executive has formed a committee with the legislature to discuss how that money would be utilized, with the county executive expressing some preference for funding for opioid reduction and mental health issues, given what occurred during the pandemic. We have not seen any significant guidance on the use of these funds. So making decisions about how to spend money without having the federal government tell us what we need to do in terms of guidance. The general guidance we've seen is it should be COVID related. And I think all the communities in the county received similar sets of funding, and I'm sure you're going through a similar exercise relative to the funding that you've received.
Hey, Dennis, a quick question, or somebody else can answer this. Has the executive order regarding the Zoom meetings been continued?
We know it's in effect till today. We haven't seen anything that says we haven't seen anything that extends it yet. I think I asked staff to check it, but we will. I'll get an answer for you tomorrow, Vince.
Yeah, it expires tomorrow.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. Tomorrow. That's right.
Yeah.
Today. Yeah. Thank you.
My suspicion is
It's the
you'll
6th,
see
yeah.
a new one come out either tonight or tomorrow morning. That's
Yeah.
usually how it goes.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, I was off by a day. I thought today was the 6th. Thank you. And that's on the financial side. On the environmental notices bulletins, I don't have anything to point out. I would say that there's a lead agency. Well, one of the things that's out there is a lead agency request for the town of Plattekill for that floating zone amendment. That is in front of us tonight, just so everybody's aware of that. And then the Lalo Group, which is a hotel proposal and banquet facility proposal off of Plattekill Avenue, next to the town hall, next to the village hall. That's also there as well. Those are the two big ones that are in the environmental notice bulletin. If anybody hasn't, it's not in the notice bulletin, but if anybody hasn't seen it, we continue to review the draft environmental impact statement for the releases to the lower Esopus. We're working with a set of consultants that are working with the whole Ashoka Can Release Working Group, including Riverkeeper. Yesterday, there was a press conference held in Diamond Mills and Saugerties to bring attention to the problem. And there'll be upcoming public comment period is open. If anyone for those communities along the Esopus and anyone that has economic ties to the lower Esopus, it would behoove you to think about your town boards passing the necessary resolutions in support of changing the outcome of the impact statement as it currently stands, and then to work through the various comments and there's draft resolutions out there. I'm sorry, there is draft resolutions out there. We can share them with you. Well, the point being is that there are some significant impacts that all the communities along the Esopus believe will occur, and there's been a great call to action to start to look at alternatives besides just releasing down the lower Esopus as a means to control water quality for the city's water supply system.
Dennis, could you send out that resolution?
Sure.
We'd love to see it. We've been discussing it in New Paltz quite a bit.
Yep. Dennis, it's Vince here.
Saugerties has passed one, Vince.
Huh?
Saugerties has passed a resolution, if that's what you're going to say. I was trying to anticipate what you were going to say. My apologies.
Oh, I didn't say that. I was going to say that. I just wanted to thank the county executive and others for coming to that press conference yesterday, because it impacts us heavily.
Yep.
Down there. And it seems to me, and I'm sure I could say for me to say this, that the city of New York seems to think that they have a one-track mind and really don't care about the communities down the Esopus Creek. And it's discussed me to discuss the elected leaders and sororities, and so any help that we can get is certainly appreciated, and certainly want to thank the county executive and his team for supporting our efforts.
Thanks, Vince.
Communications.
I really don't have any communications this month. I would say this, that there are a significant amount of grant opportunities out there. I'll go and repeat the call for at the state level for under the community development grant program, community development block grant program. There's a continuing round of funding available for COVID-19 relief funding that can be used to anything related to COVID, anything related to or responding to the impacts of COVID-19. Communities, I believe, are eligible for up to 500,000, and the counties are eligible up to $1 million. And it's a simple application process. It's really an application process that you submit what you're proposing to do to the Division of Office of Community Renewal, Office of Housing and Community Renewal, and they will look at that application and indicate that whether or not you should move it forward. And if they indicate to move it forward, then you submit a formal application. The county is going to be applying for, well, the county is proposing to apply. We still have to have the legislature go through the public hearing. Is proposing to apply for $1 million. And that $1 million would be focused on grants to businesses that have been impacted by COVID-19, and it would be handled through the county's Department of Economic Development.
Dennis, this is Mitchell. Is it possible to get that link forwarded, at least, well, to everybody, but
yeah,
Hurley's been working on trying to get some stuff, via grants, and we've been having problems. One of our planning board members has been working on that. He'd appreciate that.
Yeah, not a problem. I would say this, there's a tight timeline here from the time that you are awarded to the time you need to deliver this. You need to deliver the funding out the door in 12 months. So that sort of severely limits the abilities to do projects that are that involve real estate or something of that nature. We actually were looking at we're considering some housing work, but trying to do housing work in 12 months time is in this environment is very difficult. The other thing we were considering actually was looking at childcare facilities. And that's the other thing that you want to be considered. But if there's specific things in a community, you can't use it for facilities for general purpose of government. So you can't use it for government offices or anything like that. But you can use it for things that are not a general purpose, such as childcare facilities. For example, if there was a building in the town that was used for the government that could be retrofitted for childcare services, those are the kinds of things that you could do. You could also do work relative to mental health operations or those kinds, or support operations. You could fund those types of things as well. So public facilities are eligible. It's just that they can't be the general governmental purposes.
Dennis, Mike Baden, does the money have to be spent by the local government, or can it be then moved to, say, a not-for-profit through the local government that would then utilize it for their purposes?
That's correct. And that's exactly what the county is doing. The county is going to move its money through the county to the Ulster County Economic Development Agency, which is an LDC. But we have a routine, we routinely move money through the county to a nonprofit for our housing rehab program through RUPCO and others.
Okay.
So you can move it to a nonprofit. If you're going to do that, give me a call, Mike. We can walk you through the process.
Yeah, I would, because I'm thinking our food pantry is doing an awful lot of above and beyond work during this, and it might be a way to help them with some funding.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Thank you.
And it's Scott McCarthy here. I have a quick question. What about for affordable housing? We'll say, I'm going to say management through our town. Could it be used for something like that?
I'm not sure what you mean by management, so I don't know. How
Long story short, we're trying to figure a way how we can actually police the affordable housing in our town and make sure that we're meeting the requirements of the county and what's needed for the county and in our town. So that's actually going to cost finances to the town. And at the same time, if this is something that would be able to be used for that, it may be some way for us to thwart off that problem.
Yeah. Let's talk offline about that. I mean, I have some ideas about that. One of the things that, there's a model ordinance out there, a statute out there that we can share with you that basically puts the burden of compliance on the developer, at least the initial lease up. And then once you get past that, there's not a lot of compliance effort there. I mean, talking to Westchester County, which has a significant amount of affordable housing, they have a single individual within their planning department that essentially is managing compliance for about 4,000 units.
Okay, so there's obviously a different way to do it. Perfect.
Yeah.
You're muted,
Dennis,
Mike.
Dennis is Bill Murray again. What's the source of these funds?
These are disaster recovery. Well, let's put them. These are COVID funds. So they came out of. I think that these are maybe out of the CARES Act, but there's more coming under the American Recovery Act.
So the application is going to who?
Office of Community Renewal, Office of Housing Community Renewal, OCR.
Thank you.
I'll send the link to everyone so you have it.
Terrific.
Thank you. Okay.
And only municipalities are eligible, just so you know. The nonprofits can't apply without you. They need a sponsor. I'm done, Jer.
Okay. Any staff reports?
Bert, do you have anything?
Guess not.
No, I was having difficulty with the computer. We had the Ag District site visits. We had one application pull out, so basically 4 properties, 2 in Esopus, 1 in Shandaken, and 1 in Olive. In Esopus, there's livestock and horses in Ulster Park. And out in Shandaken, there's a small maple syrup operation with some aquaculture that they have planned. And in Olive, it's land that's being rented to 2 existing farm operations on Watson Hollow Road, Emil's Agroforest and Atticus Farm. And so those operations have been growing, and I know Atticus Farm sells product to Bread Alone. And in Ulster Park, we've seen several farm operations go into business in the last couple of years. So you have 2 growing clusters in different parts of Ulster County. And that's it.
Okay. Thank you.
Bert, on the
Special
horse farm
topics?
in Sopus, what type of commercial horse operation is that?
They do sales. They get horses from the high plains. So I guess she referred to them as high plains horses.
So they're bringing horses in from the west and selling them. Okay.
Yeah, and they hope to do a riding program with Lakota, because she's from Montana, Kamara.
So it's probably like team roping or something like that they bring the horses in for.
Yeah, they want to work with kids. That's
Yeah.
the impression I got. Yeah, so.
Hey, Bert, this is Mark Watkins. I wanted to say thank you for all your help with that project, Mako Homes. The DEC and the ag and market trying to figure out what to do with that property. All the paperwork that you sent us, it really was helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any special topics?
I
Dennis?
just have one, and that is the Midtown Linear Park. We have anticipate a kickoff meeting for the Midtown Linear Park on this Friday. So construction should start by the end of the month.
I have a question if it's a special topic. Any guidance out there on getting back to live meetings? My planning board, village board, all my boards are interested in rejoining, looking for some guidance on that. Have you guys seen anything?
No, what I would say is that, and Mike mentioned this, Mr. Bodden mentioned this, is that we should know what the status of the executive order is by tomorrow. It either is continued or it's not. And then individual towns can make their own decision as to whether they want to go back to regular meetings. The only guidance I would suggest from talking to people that have gone through trying to do a mixed meeting where some people are meeting in person and some people are on Zoom is it creates a significant technological challenge. So if you're going to do it, I would say it's one or the other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dennis,
Yeah,
oh, sorry.
go ahead, Mike. I just saw something on the state side, couldn't make sense of it. I've got to call into NICOM tomorrow, and hopefully they can offer some input on all this.
Okay.
Yeah, building on what Dennis was saying, for a while, our town board and our planning board and our zoning board of appeals the boards were meeting in person, and we were live streaming it through a computer that we had set up in a wide shot. And then the Zoom link was being broadcast on a television that we had in the room. It did work, and we got better at it as we went along with it. We did get spent several $100s on a very good microphone that would pick up about a 10-foot radius. And for the town board, it worked well. For the bigger board, like the planning board, it did not work as well because everybody was set up at 6-foot tables with one at either end. And it is doable, but as Dennis said, the technology and the problems of trying to make it work are probably not worth the effort of bringing everybody together. And the other problem I saw is people, in the room would be talking and looking at maps, but then the audience didn't have any idea what they were talking about and looking at, and that really caused some problems. So I think, like Dennis said, we'll know tomorrow what the governor decides. My suspicion is it will be extended.
Thanks, Mike.
I'm done, Jer.
Okay. This is the time for public comment. Is there anyone in the general public that would like to say a few words regarding anything on our agenda?
I have one. All right, you're unmuted.
Is that me?
It is you.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Emily Svensson, and I represent a large group of residents who own property and reside near the proposed drag strip project at 153 Freetown Road in Plattekill. It's on your agenda this evening, your referral agenda. And I'm not sure I mentioned, I'm an attorney who represents that group of residents. We just wanted to flag for the board that the significant public concern about this drag strip proposal. I'm sure that your staff is on top of it and that the board will review it, but we just wanted to, because this is really important to the public, just make sure you're aware of the public's concerns about how this project would harm the environment and the local community. It's a commercial drag racing strip. It's proposed to be operated Thursday through Sunday, afternoon through night. It would draw hundreds of spectators in addition to the racers themselves. And it's right next to a residential area. Some of the impacts that we anticipate the project would cause, noise is obviously a major concern. Drag racing is known to be incredibly loud. The applicants have not yet provided any information about the projected noise levels or how they would mitigate that. Surely that's going to be an important issue. Traffic is important on the local roads, especially with the hundreds of spectators that would be expected. Water pollution is a big concern. The project would be just uphill from the Plattekill stream, which is a Class BT trout stream, and also a whole system of wetlands. Wildlife habitat, light pollution. We also wanted to make sure you thought about the emergency service impacts. This would be an unsanctioned track, which means that it's not subject to standard safety practices. And so, you know, the potential impact on first responders and the sheriff's office should be considered. As far as community character, this would severely change the character of the residential community through the noise, traffic, et cetera. It would also cause a conflict with community plans. The town of Plattekill master plan actually recognizes that they have too many racetracks as it is, and that they want a diversification of entertainment options. So this is the wrong direction in terms of the master plan. The zoning code for this district, it is a business zoning district, but it's right next to residential, and the purposes of the light business zoning district are supposed to allow certain commercial uses, but quote, limit the intensity and range of uses to those compatible with surrounding uses and districts. And we believe that a drag racing strip is completely incompatible with the surrounding residential district. So there has been no seeker review yet on this project. Right now it's before the ZBA. We're calling for a full seeker review that should be coordinated with the planning board, which will also need to review this project. And as far as the variance request that's before the ZBA right now, the code requires a minimum of 150-foot buffer, and they're asking for a variance to just 35 feet. Essentially, they're trying to squeeze a project that's too big and too intense onto the wrong parcel. Again, the applicants have recognized that they're going to need traffic, noise, and stormwater studies, but they haven't produced any of those yet. So we feel that this entire application right now is premature. It needs a full seeker review, but if the ZBA does move forward with the variance request, we think the variance request should be denied. Essentially, the benefit versus the detriment balancing test. As far as the benefit, it's really just the benefit to the applicant to build a drag strip at what is essentially the wrong location. Whereas the detriment is substantial. There's the undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood, adverse impacts on the environment, as I already discussed, and also the substantialness of the variance, which is a 77% variance request. So for all of those reasons, we think the variance request is inappropriate. And so what we're asking you as the Ulster County Planning Board is to recognize the major impacts of this proposal and to recommend denial of the variance, as well as a full seeker review if the project does proceed. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Svensson. Any other public comment on any project? Okay. Move forward with the zoning referrals.
All right. Do you want me to start at the beginning, or do you want me to jump to Plattekill for tonight?
We could go ahead and jump to Plattekill.
All right. Let me.
The drag strip one, if you want. We'll start with that one.
So that's on page 6.
Yeah, it's number 89.
Number 89 on page 6. And I just want to say what the board has before it tonight is only the area variance.
Okay.
It doesn't have any of the other issues associated with this project. I shouldn't say issues, but any of the other permits associated with the project itself. It's just the area variance.
Just the area variance, okay. Any recusals?
Geo is recused.
Geo? Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
I don't have to be, so I'm good.
Okay, thank you, Tom.
Just make sure, what are you seeing the PowerPoint right now, or are you seeing an aerial?
PowerPoint.
Okay, good. Just making sure. All right, so here we go. Okay, and Tom didn't have to recuse?
No.
No, great. Okay, so Drago Bucci drag strip. It's a 115-foot area variance for an outdoor amusement use, which is allowed use in the BD60 zone. Requires a 150-foot setback on all sides, as mentioned in the public comment. They want 35 feet on one side, so it's a 115-foot variance. Let me go to aerial for y'all. Okay, I just gotta find out which one it was. Bear with me 1 second. There we go. Okay, I'm just going to share this. Here we go. All right, so here we are. So just so you get your bearings, this is Route 87, and here is the airport. And as we go north of here, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. We come to, oh, sorry. This is Freetown Road that goes over the overpass, and then what we have.
Gonna go north
Freetown
again,
Road.
Rob.
What's that?
You gotta go north a little bit again.
North again?
Yep. Pretty sure.
Just
You're right. That's right.
Thought I was right.
I zoomed out a bit.
Yeah. Don't go not too far. There you go, right there. Step right
Yeah.
there. Now you
Yeah,
got
no,
it.
I was right there. So, wait, Mayor. All right, let me go to the site.
Hold on, Rob. Let me help you out here, Rob. So it's this area in here, Rob. These properties right in here.
Okay, let me go to the site plan here.
Okay, that'll work.
Okay, so everybody sees that. Let me zoom in a little bit. All right, so on the roadside, you can see that's where the variance is. You have the drag strip that's closest to Freetown Road, and then the parking is actually closest to the highway on that side. Let's see. Actually,
No, this is Freetown Road.
Okay, they flipped. Actually, sorry, they flipped it on me a little bit. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, it's going up. So the axis is in off the road. Drag strip's furthest away from the axis. Got over there, and so you have the setback. Just a bunch of comments with this, and as it relates to variance and adverse impact and character and the substantiality of the variance. So there are different aspects. While this is actually considered a type 2 action under seeker because it's just a side yard variance or variance from the setbacks, the community character and adverse impacts, those are things which with when you're doing your balancing test for an area variance, you should consider character and adverse. So things like screening, visuals, air quality, noise analysis, what the traffic will be, how that impacts, that's on event days, and also just the substantiality of that variance, which is 115 feet of 150.
So if I may, Rob, so
on.
one of the things I think it's important to recognize is that there could be some questions to whether or not the variance is a type 2 action, but even if it is a type 2 action, the test for an area variance, then there's 5 of them that are out there. They have to be answered whether or not seeker applies. They just have to be answered. And those tests include whether the requested variance is substantial. That's a fairly easy question to answer given what we're seeing. But the other ones, which is whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect and impact on the physical environmental conditions of the neighborhood or district, that can't be answered by simply a site plan. The same question is whether the alleged difficulty was self-created. There's also a question with respect to character that's out here. The point I wanted to make is that when we start asking the questions about screening, air quality, noise, event traffic, etc., the Zoning Board of Appeals has a responsibility under the area variance test, absent seeker, to answer those questions. And the fact that the planning board is going to be asking and answering, I presume, the same questions sort of leads us to the idea that the best thing to do here is to coordinate the review between the planning board and the ZBA to get the answers, to get all of that material there. I would suspect that the ZBA should at least ask, if it wants to proceed by itself, at least ask that the submittals that they're going to do with respect to air quality, noise, the event day traffic, all of those things, in order to answer that character and adverse impacts question, be put in front of the ZBA prior to them taking an action.
What we received from the ZBA was their sheet, their typical area variance sheet, and each one was answered in about a sentence without a hard look at any issues. So
I think that's what we're asking the board to recommend back to the Zoning Board of Appeals is that the area variance test, even absent a seeker requirement, need to be addressed thoroughly, and they have the ability and the responsibility to do that under the required tests that they have to answer with respect to an area variance.
I make that motion to support the staff suggestions on this.
I'll second it, Mike Baden. But I wanted to actually say something more about the seeker, Dennis.
Sure, go ahead.
I mean, I think if this was ever a clear understanding what you said of the coordinated review, they already know that it has to go to the planning board. This absolutely, for the ZBA to move forward without seeker being completed would really be segmentation. And I think, quite frankly, the town would be setting themselves up for an Article 78 if they don't establish lead agency and do a coordinated review. Because I suspect that this would possibly classify as a type 1 action where a coordinated review is mandatory. So I think they need, whoever the first board that gets the application, and in this case, clearly it's the ZBA, they should be looking at the bigger picture, like you said, and considering whether this should be a coordinated review and should be circulating notice of lead agency.
Dennis, there was a concern, Vince here, there was a concern that was raised during public comment as respect to emergency services access and so forth. Can we add a comment in there that the fire department take a look at this?
Yeah, this is an area variance, Vince, so it would be premature to start saying who should look at what. I would think that we stick with what the ZBA's responsibilities are. The questions with respect to emergency access, et cetera, will be answered as we move into the planning board, and it'll come back to us as a site plan special permit under the planning board's jurisdiction.
All right, thank you.
Dennis or Rob, this is Matt Rudikoff. I'm wondering if it would be appropriate, because of the complexity of the project and the ultimate role of the planning board and the desire for the type 1 kind of review, would it be appropriate to suggest that there be a gateway meeting before any action is taken on this with the county and the planning board and the ZBA, and try to get people talking to each other about how a project of this potential impact gets properly reviewed and is not really, once an application gets the variance, all of a sudden there's like a momentum, in support of it. And that isn't really appropriate until this other analysis is done. And maybe a gateway meeting could encourage that kind of communication.
I don't disagree with the sentiment here. If we're going to make the comment, I would make it advisory, not a required modification.
Usually we would at the applicant's request or the town's request that they do.
Yeah, we could make it advisory that basically the planning department staff will offers to hold a gateway meeting with all of the approving entities.
I would suggest that, because it's really having the county.
I don't have a problem with it.
Say that there are these other issues they'd like to discuss.
Yeah, I have a motion and a second on the floor. If anybody wants to amend it, that's fine.
Dennis, I would just like to add, when I was on the board before, it was in front of the planning board before. I can't remember if the planning board typed it and the intent of lead agent. I'm not sure on, because it was over a year ago that it came into the planning board. And the planning board did refer it to the ZBA, just to clear up. So it wasn't applied to the ZBA without planning board first seeing it.
I-
still, it should be a coordinated review.
Yeah, I just want to sort of set the language straight here is that, you know, the need for a coordinated review here is absent the requirements of a coordinated review under the State Environmental Quality Review Act.
Okay.
That's what I know the terminology is the same, but it's basically a coordination of the boards in terms of the area variance versus a coordination of the boards is required under the State Environmental Quality Review Act. Because if this is a type 2 action or the area variance is a type 2 action, the ZBA is not constrained with respect to issuing the area variance, but they should think about the reasons to coordinate given the questions that they have to answer in order to issue that variance.
I'd like to ask a question. This is Vivian. I saw there was 87 acres on the property. Is that correct? And I'm wondering why are they zeroing in on this very close property area to the community? Is there no other suitable area they could use?
Wetlands.
Okay.
I mean, we don't have that information, you know, we don't have that information in front of us. So, you know, from that perspective, you know, that's why we start to ask all these other questions.
Mm-hmm.
They just didn't take a hard look at this at all.
Yeah. Well, they may have, we just haven't seen all of the data.
Okay.
Okay.
If I could, I just wanted to point out that the attorney that was on earlier touched on a lot of issues, but what was not touched on is the fact that I don't believe there's central water and sewer in the area, and the impact of the environment of not having municipal water and sewer could be pretty significant.
So that's great comment, Glenn. Thank you for that. So what I'm hearing from the board is in addition to the required modifications that we have, we want to add one with respect to water and sewer. And in addition to the, and we want to add an advisory comment with respect to a gateway meeting. Does that meet what the board's discussed?
Yes.
I would add too, as far as the health department goes, the applicant represented to the planning board over a year ago that they were looking to do porta potties and no well, bring in their own water for because
and that may be, but we don't know that.
But I mean that's a planning department issue that they would have to iron out. But that was what the applicant was proposing.
Okay.
Okay. I have a motion by
I have a
Cindy.
motion from Cindy and a motion from Mr. Bodden. Are you folks on the revisions?
Yes, I'd like to amend it to the revisions that as Dennis stated.
Okay.
Dennis, I'm okay with the revision. Just another question, and I know you said we don't know, but if there are wetlands there on the property, in terms of the variance, those wetlands should be identified because that could be part of the reason of why the variance is necessary. So clearly they should be shown on the map to make sure that the buffer areas are properly identified. And
excuse me, Dennis.
Yes.
I'm sorry, one more point. This issue about the area variance being a type 2 action. An area variance is a type 2 action if it's for a single family home or 2-family home or a 3-family home, not if it's for a commercial or an industrial project.
There's a yes, you're right with respect to that, but there's also another section. If you look in the statute, the regulations, Mr. Rudikoff, there also is a section there that talks about individual setbacks are type 2. It doesn't specifically mention single family homes. It's quirkily written. I grant you, and that's why I'm not saying it's a type 2. I'm saying if it's determined that it's a type 2, you can read the regulations that this could be a type 2 action.
But the caption says area variance. So.
No, but it would be an individual setback would be an area variance.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It's quirkily written.
No, I understand.
If you haven't noticed, I brought up the aerials back up and they put on the wetlands. So pretty substantial.
All right. Those opposed to the motion? Okay, we have one recusal. Any abstentions? All right. And so the required mods will be identified for this.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. You want to stay in Plattekill there, Rob?
No, I'm going to go back, to the top.
beginning.
I'll go back to the top.
Okay, thank you. Take it easy. Okay, for the town of Esopus, do we have any recusals for local law number 9?
Where are you at, Rob?
Sorry.
He's in Kingston.
This just tells you how big a meeting we got tonight.
Yeah, you gotta
Get back
pretty
to us.
heavy
So there
agenda
you
tonight,
go.
folks, just so you know.
All right. So we're at down in Sopus now. All right. So town of Sopus, these were a series of laws. They're all other special authorizations. The first one is a proposal to amend town's chapter on abandoned vehicles. This basically, it's really no county impact for us. They just basically say you can only have one abandoned vehicle on your site. And if you do, it has to be enclosed. There are exceptions for, of course, agricultural district, active agricultural operations in stateside certified agricultural districts. There's no county impact on it.
I'll move it, Vince.
Second, Mike Baden.
I have a question.
Sure.
I know it's no county impact, but I mean, this is pretty invasive. I mean, is this going to apply to every property in Esopus?
Yes.
I mean, it's pretty powerful. You know, I get it. You don't want your neighbors stacking up cars and stuff, but for properties that are vast, you know, and, you know, 20, 30, 40 acres, and you got 4 cars in the back of your garage, they would be invited.
The state already has a law that says anything more than 2 unregistered vehicles constitutes a junkyard.
Yep.
So they're just taking it a little bit further than the state is, but the state already says anything greater than 2 you can't have. So
Village Authority only allows 1.
So there's a motion and second, folks. Jer?
You hear, Jer?
Do we lose Jer?
No, I was muted. Sorry.
Sorry.
All
So
right,
the
thank-
motion is no county impact?
That's
no
correct.
county impact. Okay. Any opposed? All right.
Need abstentions, Jer.
Any abstentions?
I'll abstain.
Gio? Okay. All right, motion passes. Let's go local law number 10. Any recusals?
Okay, this is another special authorization with respect to they repealed and replaced the lawn maintenance one and then upgraded it to be a property maintenance chapter. There's no county impact about keeping your properties compliant and to code.
I'll move this one, Vince.
I'll second, Drew.
Okay. Any abstentions? All those opposed? Motion passes.
Those were both kind of borderline referable. So
Okay. Number 11, rental properties registration. Recusals? Okay.
all right, so this is a proposal to require all rental properties to be registered. So it's only the first time when they bring it on the market that it's rental. So they have to have an inspection when it's first rented, and it's going to be town-wide. So all current rentals in the town of Sopus are going to have to register within the time frame that was provided as part of the law. And then the owner has to maintain a tenant list, and then they have to require meant to notify the town tenants if the utility provider is scheduling a cessation or interruption of electric or gas. If you recall, there was an issue down at Lakeshore Villas, which pretty much was the catalyst behind this law. Couple of comments with it is, one, it does not exclude short-term rentals from it. So they already have a separate short-term rental registration. Now they're going to have a rental registration. Do they have to register for both? They have to register for one or the other. They should make a distinction of that. That's an advisory comment. And then the other comment is it a bit too much? Should we just be focusing on those complexes that have a certain amount that are multifamily, say 3 or 4 more units? Or are we talking about every single rental unit in town? So,
Well, the way, Rob, the way I read it was that it was 5 units or more.
Was it?
Yeah, that's the way I read it.
Okay.
Was that it was for units 5 or more.
Okay. Well, then that answers that question.
We'll eliminate the multifamily comment, and then it will just make the comment with respect to short-term rentals.
Absolutely. And I was also curious why they only had just one inspection.
Yeah.
Just the initial inspection. There's no plan for any follow-up secondaries, annuals, biannuals.
Any multifamily
Yeah.
has to have a yearly inspection already
Does it?
under New York State law.
Okay.
It's either yearly or every 2 years, but I don't know which one it is, but there is an inspection requirement at the state level that is much more than just once.
Anything that involves a sleeping accommodation is a yearly.
Okay.
All right.
That's for multifamily?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So,
So
just
what about-
advisory and short-term rentals?
That's for anything, and I think multifamily is defined by the state as 3 units.
3 or more. Yep.
Yeah.
So what's the requirement below that threshold?
I don't think there is one. If it's less than 3, it's treated as if it's a single family or a 2-family, I don't believe there is a
No.
requirement for inspection.
And what type of inspection are they doing?
It's
It's
a
a code inspection.
It's a fire and safety inspection through the
Okay.
code enforcement office.
Sure. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion, Mike Baden.
Second.
McCarthy second.
Who?
McCarthy second.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
Okay, any abstentions? Okay. And the motion passes with advisory comment. All right, this Opus. Any recusals on Hudson Shore Estates?
All right.
Okay.
Let me share my aerial again. There we go. And this is it. We reviewed this several different times over the years. Once we reviewed it as, I think somebody else has, if everybody who's not, can you mute yourselves? So I'm hearing feedback on. Okay, that's better. Thanks. Anyway, so we reviewed this once as a B&B like 5 or so years ago. Then it came back, and then it became, so now it's a conference center, a mini conference center. And we made comments, and they've taken those comments to, one, this access is being closed up, so all access will be coming off the side road. And then we made another comment about health department approval. So now they're coming back behind here. They're putting in a small pool and a staircase. The pool is small enough in size that it doesn't need health department approval, so there's no kind of impact on a pool.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Which one?
Who seconded?
Doesn't matter. Mike Baden.
Sorry, Gio made the motion.
Yep. Okay. No county impact.
All right.
Okay, any abstentions? All right. Motion approved. We're moving to Hurley. Any recusals for, this is the amendment to chapter 97. No recusals?
All right. This is another special authorization. Can we say something? Okay, this is another special authorization all it does is throughout chapter 97 is say that they're going to be complying with the 2020 Energy Conservation Code of New York State and the New York Stretch Energy Code 2020. And that's all it is. So just recommend to be approved for no county impact.
Make the motion, Conyer.
McCarthy, second.
Is that, are we doing it as approved or no county impact?
Your choice.
I think in this case, because it's in a special authorization, approved is probably the better.
I agree.
Okay.
Any abstentions?
Who seconded it?
Well, the second was McCarthy. Any abstentions? No. Okay. Any opposed? Motion passes as approved. City of Kingston.
Come on.
Any recusals? This is resolution 50.
All right. So, a little history behind this. This is the city's amendments on accessory dwelling units to make, like the other we've saw last month, to make them more easy to occur. We got comments from the city sent to us. We made comments, staff backed them, and now they've sent those same original changes to us again. And so we now have some comments. But so what it does is it makes it more able to occur in the RRR, which is the 1 acre zoning for the city. And they also removed some minimum standards to comply with New York State Building Code. And they set some parking requirements with respect to it. So while we think this is a step in the right direction, we had some additional comments to make. And they're as follows. One is to define accessory dwelling units. The definition should include things like attics, basements, and these are things we talked about last month. Accessory buildings or second floors on those accessory buildings, converted garages, in accordance with the New York State Building Code, of course. So make it broad, create other opportunities for accessory housing. And also don't require site plan review or special permit review. Permit them by right in residential districts or any station. So there's that. Let's see, what else? We also made a comment about eco cottages, which are for senior elder care. They're kind of temporary housing, 400 square feet. Those should be allowed by right. Also, we saw this in our comments on the SOPIS and in Olive, I believe, where we said they should consider having them at HUD fair market rent for at least a period of the first 5 years. And they should also keep them short-term rental free. I know in the SOPIS they did that for the first 5 years as well to keep them disallowed from using short-term rentals. Of course, the City of Kingston short-term rental law only allows them as hotels, so, but that's in process. Also, health department review. This is a common comment with accessory dwellings that they have to have approvals or meet public water and sewer or septic approvals to exist. And then another thing to encourage them, consider allowing for enlargement of the principal dwelling or accessory structures with no density penalties. I mean, they might require site plan review, but other options to create more the accessory apartments. And what else we got?
That was it, I think.
That was it.
And the goal here is essentially two things. One is that we want to congratulate the city. This is the fact that they're actually talking about accessory dwelling units in the city, because they're extremely restrictive with respect to their existing code, is a good thing, and we want to say that. But most of what we're talking about here is basically trying to provide an as of right use for accessory dwelling units, and it's consistent with the legislation that's being considered at the state level right now. The legislation at the state level is actually considering preempting local zoning with respect to accessory dwelling units, given the housing crisis that exists statewide.
I just want to say that is a very clean, clear-cut list of required modifications, and I would like to make the motion to approve these required modifications.
Conyer, second.
Okay.
All right.
Any abstentions? Any opposed? Okay, motion passes as required mods. All right, 59 Pearl Street.
All right. This is also going to be number 96, but we got a really late referral because it's also number 108, which is on the next page for an area variance. And it's 59 Pearl and
Excuse me,
also
Rob.
36 Wall.
Excuse me, Rob. I didn't ask. Any
Oh,
recusals?
sorry.
No recusals. Okay, thank you. Continue.
So yeah, so it's 2 referrals. Turns out what happened was the ZBA granted a variance for parking, but didn't refer it. So now they referred it. So it's conversion of the former St. Joe's building on the corner of Wall and Pearl. Oh, you'll recognize it once you see the photo. That's the view from Pearl. That's the site plan. So as you can see, there really aren't any parking spaces on site. What the applicant is proposing to do is they now have ownership of the former family court site, which has 179 spaces on it. And they're requesting a variance of 33 parking spaces and providing for parking on that site. So that variance was granted, but here's our required mod was that there has to be some element that ties that parking to the site. And there are a number of different ways that the city can do it. We'll leave that to them. I mean, it could be an easement is one way, a parking easement, so that the property that is that family court building can't be sold from under them and have them without parking. There has to be some mitigating factor here.
So to make this simple, what the developer is proposing is to utilize a site that he owns elsewhere in the city. It's within walking distance of this site to provide parking for this site. And that's why he's requesting a variance. And it's 100% variance, as I understand it. There's no parking on this site, right, Rob?
That's correct.
So it's 100% variance. So the variance is substantial, but it's mitigated by the fact that he's providing off-site parking.
Right.
What we want to do is basically say, if you're providing that off-site parking, you have to provide some legal means that off-site parking can't be used for anything else and can't be sold and used for anything else.
Now, just so you know, here's the building right here. And this is that's the parking all the way over there.
Wow. Yeah, it's within 1,500 feet, though, as I recall. I think I measured it out.
Yeah.
Are they supplying a shuttle bus too?
Jesus.
Yeah, that's a stretch at best.
That's a short walk in New York City.
Oh yeah.
Dennis, how does that address though ADA requirements?
I think there's places in the back. That's a good point, Mike. We can raise that as well.
Yeah, because
Dennis,
that kind of distance, that clearly is not going to follow ADA requirements.
No, Mike, there's about probably about 5 or 6 spots along the side of the building that they can restrict as handy.
Should be able to see it on the aerial right now. I have it zoomed in pretty tight. So there's about, just like Gio says, about 5 or 6 spaces.
I think though, Dennis, we should bring that up in the comment to just say it
I'm
should
hearing
be-
you, Mike. I'm not
should be
disagreeing.
identified and designated.
Yeah, that's a good point, Mike.
You don't want to just assume that they're going to use it.
We're good.
Dennis, this is Mitchell Cohen. Just a quick question. I'm not sure what that building has previously installed or not, but since it's being used for a different reason, is there already a required building sprinkler system and installed?
This thing is going to go through a substantial renovation. It's my understanding. So it will if it goes through I don't know whether there's sprinklers installed, but if it goes through the renovation, they will have to deal with it. It's a code issue for us, not really a planning issue.
It was a Catholic. I elementary school for a long
Yeah.
time, and I'm sure it's outdated and they're gonna have to upgrade. But I'm sure there's a certain level of safety in that, and I'm sure the planning board is gonna make them adhere to any kind of new codes. I would assume that.
Did we get a motion on this, by the way?
Not yet.
Geo and Conyer. Yeah, I got it. Thank you. No.
No, that was before. No, we don't have one yet. Another thing I noticed was on the site plan sketch. It appears as though there's an elevator.
Let me go back to it.
Well, in the plans, it looks like there's an elevator being installed. That's existing.
That's very vestibule.
Okay, there.
That's it.
So is that the one-story vestibule area? Is that where the elevator is being installed on the plans?
We don't know.
Because on the actual floor plans, Rob?
I'm sorry, what's the concern about
Can you go to the actual floor plans?
Yeah, I mean, I can bring them up separately. I haven't.
You know, I mean, it doesn't change. Well, if you, and Jared, what's the issue with respect to
My
the elevator?
issue is that these prints that are being submitted don't make it, you can't see where they're building this vestibule. And I believe it was on the Pearl Street side that they wanted to build it, and it's not shown.
Okay. All right. So why don't we do this, Jared? Why don't we take a vote on the area variance, which is essentially that the question with respect to the easement, and then we'll go back and take a vote on the site plan. Is that okay?
Motion to support staff, Watkins.
I'm sorry.
Owner second.
This is Drew. I have one question on the variance. Is there any way to know how much of that parking lot has already been allocated for other uses and whether or not you're double dipping?
That's what we're gonna ask that question, Drew.
Okay.
My understanding is that there is space there, but eventually they're gonna run out of space.
Okay.
So in light of that, perhaps we should make some sort of suggestion on designated spots for the tenants where maybe a tenant gets a card and there's a gate that goes up and down when you insert the card.
Absolutely, Glenn. We'll make those comments as part of the easement area variance. We'll do that.
Thank you.
And Dennis, you're also including the ADA parking in that comments to advisory,
Yes,
correct?
it's ADA, location spaces, easement. Does that work for everybody? And count of spaces already committed.
And mechanical arm.
How would the ADA access work in the main building?
Adjacent to the building.
What is the access into the building that's ADA accessible?
We don't know yet, but we'll handle that under the site plan review. Can we, I'm trying to get, we got a heck of an agenda here. I'm trying to get through this. You know, I don't want to design the project for them, but from the area variance perspective, the main thing we're trying to do is make sure that the parking is available and that it's legally can't be severed from the approval.
Right. Oh, by the way, I just looked at the floor plan, and that vestibule, which is shown in that corner, is where the elevator is going to go. So.
Okay. So let us get the vote on it. Jared, can I get a vote on the? I have a Watkins and Conner on the area variance, and then we'll go back to the site plan.
All right. And any abstentions?
I'm opposed, McLaughlin.
Okay. Opposed. Okay.
So now we'll go back to the.
Okay.
Then we'll go back to the site plan. Is that okay, guys?
Yep.
That was for the area.
The site plan review. The question that came up with the site plan review was the vestibule and the elevator.
Just
Jerry,
where
you
is
still have that question or not?
I'm just curious as to where it's located on this picture.
It's
In the-
Not, it's not
northeast-
that one.
west corner.
That's not the same one it's shown in the plan.
I think it's flipped the other way in the floor plan.
Okay.
So the recommendations here is to show the elevator and to show the handicap parking. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So with those recommendations as required modifications, can I get a vote? Get a motion?
Motion to support staff, Watkins.
Second, Drew.
Drew, you were second?
Okay.
Okay. Any opposed?
McLaughlin.
Okay. Abstentions? Okay, motion passes with those required mods. All right. Let's go to the next city of Kingston. Any recusals? That's 79 Hurley Ave.
All right. So this is any recusals. No. So renovation redevelopment of the existing structure for multi-tenant mixed use. This is the former Freeman building, or Freeman is still there. And let me show it to you. So this is what they're proposing. Let me switch back to the aerial real quick. Okay. There we go. So there's the Freeman building. You can see its close proximity over here to the rail trail over there. That's going to be come up as part of the proposal. Go back to the slideshow. All right. So you have that building. It's going to be mixed use. Let me bring it. This is one of the views of the building. So it can be multi-tenant mixed use. They're going to be cafe, 2 different newspapers operating on it. They're hoping to have a bike shop in it. And they're also going to be upgrading the landscaping substantially. And they're also proposing this is the floor plan, by the way. So you can see that you have a number of different uses, including, I believe, one is a brew pub, another one. And you can see there's like a bike display area out front. That's what it would look like from Hurley Avenue. So much improved, much upgraded for an existing building for a front of that building. Currently, I don't think it has any windows along the frontage like that.
No.
And so the one thing they are proposing is this connection to the rail trail, and some required modifications we'd like to see on that is public access easement, and to allow the public to use it, and to make it. They should have a public access easement to connect that trail, and also coordinate with the county for that access. Other comments: they need to have lighting levels with respect to it. Any signage will need to be reviewed by the city. While we saw landscaping in somebody's again not muted, and I'm getting a lot of feedback.
Did everybody mute themselves, please, if they're not talking?
Thank you. So lighting level, signage, actual landscaping plan, not just a rendering, should have your usual schedule of list of sizes, types, locations, and use native species. Bike rack locations if you're going to be a rail trail connection. And as I mentioned, coordination with the county for that rail trail connection. Also, they should be providing a public access easement. But mostly want to just congratulate them on this redevelopment project. It's substantial and nice renovation to an existing structure.
I'll make the motion, McLaughlin.
Second, Mike Baden. Robert Dennis, a question. With that increased usage from the newspaper, did DPW look at the frontage on the road? Is the access still okay?
Yeah, they don't have an access problem, Mike, here. They really don't. Yeah.
Okay. That answers my question.
Give it a second. I don't think we did.
Yeah,
McLaughlin seconded it.
No, Vince motion, Baden second.
I'm sorry.
Any abstentions?
Baden seconded. I apologize. I'm reading the wrong one.
No abstentions. Any opposed? With required mods, it is approved. Okay. Town of Lloyd.
McCarthy recused.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Town of Lloyd.
All space.
So all space, we reviewed this many times over the year. It's off of 299. This is one access point. We often use it as a model for many others to use because it's really well landscaped, has pitched roofs and things of that nature. But what we're actually reviewing this month is all the way in the back of the facility where they're proposing 5 more storage units, and as a result, they need a 10% variance on lot area. There's no county impact on that. I can show you the slide on it though. Let me do that.
Motion to support staff.
Second, Mike Baden.
Thank you, Mr. Armquist. Baden.
That was Mr. Watkins.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Watkins.
Any abstentions? Any opposed? Motion passes.
Rob, if we could, can we give them a congratulations? Not only did they design it well, they have kept it looking nice ongoing. And I think it's important to recognize that the upkeep that they have put into it.
Yeah, I'm happy to note to them that we use them as like a
Yeah,
model
I think
over
it's really
time.
important because it's they do a really good job keeping it looking like it was when it was designed.
Okay, I can do it.
We can do that.
Okay. Any recusals on Leprechaun Ventures?
McCarthy again.
Thank you.
All right, so here we are on Route 9, off of Route 9W, and actually Upper North Road. So we're just where Upper North Road connects to 9W, and you have this really narrow lot. So you can tell that the variance is because of that really narrow lot. You have, what you see here is a single wide. It's really overgrown in there, and they're going to be removing that and everything that's in there and putting in a storage building. And I'll show you the site plan real quick. This is just the area variance though. Okay, switch my share. There. Leprechaun Ventures. All right, so there you go. So issue I had with it was the fact that the parking is angled. I don't know why it's angled because it could be go either direction in that road.
Just an area variance, right, Rob?
Right. But we just want to see if there's ways that they, I mean, I know it's a tough site. I know it's small, but if they have ways where they could flip the building and get that parking from backing out in the right of way, they should explore that as a required mod.
Okay.
It would just improve the safety of the site.
So move, Mike Baden.
Second, McLaughlin.
Okay, any abstentions? Any opposed? Motion passes. Stewart's in Town of Lloyd. McCarthy still recusing?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Thank you.
All right, so we're with me on aerial?
Yep, we're set, Rob.
Okay, so this is a very busy area in the town of Lloyd. As you know, we reviewed a mixed-use development right here last month or the month before that. Now you have a Stewart's development in here, which is going to be basically taking up multiple parcels in this area.
All 3 of the lots, yep.
Yeah, all 3 of those lots. What they're requesting here is pretty minimal. They'll need to come back for site plan review. We've had a gateway meeting with both DPW and DOT talking about it and different access issues. Right now, we have a 1 foot, 8 inch or 9 inch sign variance for a monument style sign. That's no county impact. And then it's a, what was the other one?
Lot coverage, right?
Lot coverage. There's no county impact on those. Let me go back to the,
Yeah, bring the site plan up, Rob.
Before I say that.
Yeah, I think we may have made a comment on stormwater.
I think we may have. So let me just, I don't want to count my chickens here. Are we back on this slides? Can you see the slides?
Yep.
Okay. So that's the sign. No issue there. This is the site plan. We made a comment about
You want to pull the next one up, Rob?
Yeah, this is it.
That's the one.
Right. We talked about lot coverage. There's opportunities for stormwater. Then they should consider, if they're going to do that, given the tightness of the site, look for stormwater, air detention areas here. here. Just look for, and also permeable pavers, see if that's a way to alleviate the variance, maybe around.
It looks like what they've done, so the board understands, it looks like what they've done is they very carefully kept the amount of impervious surface below an acre, so they don't have to do stormwater. But the town has an opportunity here to do some stormwater work in this area, and they should take it as part of the area variance. So we won't say how to do it, but it's just that they should think about, since they need a lot coverage variance, they should think about essentially doing something with respect to stormwater. And there's a lot of opportunities on the site to do it. It's not like the site is crammed in there.
And we'll probably see this
Oh,
next.
I'm sorry. So this is for both a variance on the sign and the lot coverage, right?
That's correct, Gio.
Correct.
Okay, yeah, no, I support your comments there, Dennis. If they're gonna ask for an area variance, then yes.
You're gonna make the motion, Gio?
Sure, I'll make that motion.
I'll second it, Baden.
Was this an advisory or a required mod? I forgot what we did with it.
It's advisory, I think.
Yeah, it sounded like more advisory to me.
Can they do a little more landscaping on some of that?
Well, we'll address that site plan.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so we have no county impact on the sign, advisory comment on the lot coverage.
And who was that?
Gio, we have a motion by Gio and Baden second. Any abstentions?
Who's the second?
But Baden.
Who's me?
Mike Baden.
Thank you.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Next one, Rob. McCarthy's still excused, right?
Still recused.
Yep. Thank you, Scott.
All right.
This is for both?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
All right, Silver Garden Senior Housing. So, site is right here, behind an existing housing project, behind the plaza here off of 9W.
And adjacent to the state park.
Adjacent to Career and Career State Park. So we have that. And let me go to the site plan. Yep. All right. So it's a 3-story, 55,000 square foot affordable rental housing and 57 units for seniors. 13.7 acres, 3.41 acres insured. We do have a SWIP. Oh, and I'm going the wrong way. Truck turning templates have been provided. Landscaping good. We have a habitat assessment report. Already have a neg deck in this proposal. Traffic is not an issue. We have 18 trips in the AM peak and 19 trips in the PM. We have got lighting cut sheets. Lighting is pretty good, and lighting is good with the proposal. So this is just the subdivision plan. And that's a landscaping plan. We note that the landscaping plan has a nice adjacency to the state park. That's well done. You have street trees as you enter the facility. There's pedestrian network that connects back to the, somebody's unmuted again. It has a lot of feedback. Thanks. Anyway, so the pedestrian network connects back to the plaza. Let's see. That's what it's going to look like.
They also granted an easement through the property to the state park for the adjoining neighborhood as well.
That's nice. And the applicant, part of the application, they cited the county's housing action plan and pointed to the need for this kind of affordable housing community as one of the definite things that was pointed to in the housing action plan. So staff comment is to approve and congratulate the applicant and the town for this this project here, which is much needed.
They have bike racks and electric vehicle charging stations?
Yeah, they do. We can make an advisory comment on the bike racks. It's a senior housing project.
Hey, guys, I ride a bike. I'm a
Okay.
senior. Come on.
Okay, I got it. All right, I'm not arguing with you here, but okay, we can make the comment with respect to electric vehicle charging stations and bike racks.
Sure. Why
I'll
not?
make the motion with those two additions.
Well,
in there.
those are advisory comments though, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Second,
second it.
Vivian.
Dennis,
So that was Vince, I'm sorry,
Yes,
and Vivian.
Yes.
I heard Mr. Gadali say something.
I just wanted to quickly say, if I did the arithmetic correctly, these units are about 960 square feet minus any common space. So these are pretty tiny. I don't know if you've noticed that or I did my arithmetic wrong.
Yeah, I don't know what the size are, but anywhere between 800 and 1,000 square feet are what they use for a single bedroom these days.
All right, I guess they're in there.
Okay,
They have elevators?
Yes,
Okay.
if it's 3 stories, they have to. Probably a central elevator, the way it looks like it's designed is probably a central elevator connected to the buildings. And then staircases on the ends. That's what I suspect, just looking at the design.
we have a motion, we have a second. Any abstentions? Any opposed? Okay, motion on both pass.
Dennis, the entire project is affordable?
Yes.
Wow, great.
All right, Marlboro, Bailey's Gap, Solar. Any recusals?
Cindy Lanzetta recused.
Thank you, Cindy. We're doing them both together?
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you.
So we got what's proposed here is a 1.5, was it 1.25? 1.25 megawatt solar facility, community solar. It's done with Nexamp, like down to town Rochester, use Nexamp. And it's going to be on a capped, town-owned landfill. So there's no new disturbance as a result of this. Let me go to the PowerPoint. So again, that's the aerial that we saw before. That's the existing conditions, and that's the solar. One thing you'll note is the slope of that road going down the hill. At one point, it's about almost 14%.
Wow.
Yeah, that's all right for an access road for solar.
Right. I mean, there's I brought in the road profile just so everybody can see it.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's there, Rob.
What's that? Well, we had a comment, but it's not in here anymore.
Okay, well, I can tell you what the comment is. The required modification comment is to make sure that they work with the Department of Environmental Conservation with respect to the solar on top of a closed landfill.
Yeah, thank you, Dennis, because
Yeah.
I can tell you there's some really strict recommendations about weight and construction vehicle impacts on the surface.
Yeah, and that's what we'll tell them. And I am a little concerned about the slope, but that's me. That's not the Department of Environmental Conservation. To let them work it out to make sure that the cap doesn't slide.
Right.
That's the main issue. But other than that, this is a great project.
And that's a required mod, Dennis?
That'd be a required mod, yeah.
Okay, Mike Baden, I'll make that motion.
This is Drew. I'll second, and I have a question about that. Does that include dealing with maintenance to the cap if something goes wrong? When you're talking about the DEC review?
It does.
Yeah.
Because we have a similar situation in Olive where we have to do some maintenance to it every once in a while. And
I will tell you, Drew, the site we did in Rochester is not on our cap landfill. It's next door, but our access was going to go over a portion of it. And we had to totally reroute all our construction vehicles because not only were they not allowed to, they weren't even allowed to drive over the cap just to get to the site.
Okay.
The DEC would not give us any approval for that. So they are really very strict about weight limits on top of caps on landfills.
Yeah.
How they do it out in the town of Ulster then, Dennis?
They did small vehicles on the caps. We had a road up to the top, so we didn't have to worry about that. That was an existing road. And then we had basically skid steers that were moving all the material in and on the cap, and everything was placed above the cap. So all the anchors for the solar facilities were actually concrete anchors poured and brought in, and then they were placed on the cap.
Yeah.
And then they were that held them down. And then we had some real significant issues relative to the slope, and they disallowed, I think, probably a good about a quarter of a megawatt because of slope considerations. They were concerned that the cap would slide with the additional weight on it.
Right.
Which is probably why this is at only a 1.25 as it is.
Yeah, so we want to make sure that recommendation comes through loud and clear, and the town should be aware of that as well. It's not it's basically for their own safety.
All right.
Just
Okay,
a quick question, Dennis. Isn't anything that has to do with a landfill require discussion and approval
Yes.
by DEP?
Yes, if it's closed and there's usually a closure plan, a post-closure plan for the landfill. So your short answer to your question is yes.
We're just making sure they remember that.
Well, they take special care with respect, because it's a preferred location from my NYSERDA standpoint and from the town standpoint. It's a preferred location because it's it's land that it's unusable land for just about everything else. So it's a preferred location. It's just that you need to take some real care on it. And DEC's developed a whole series of recommendations for it. We had some really interesting conversations with DEC on site with it. I know we have a lot to go on, so I don't want to get into it too much.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
okay, great. We have a motion. We have a second.
Who was the
Any
second on that,
abstentions?
by the way?
The second was Drew.
Thank you, Drew.
Any abstentions? Any opposed? Motion passes with the required mod. All right, Kent Family Farms. Cindy, you still recused?
Choose from this too.
Okay.
I am, Geo is recused. Also.
And Geo, okay. And we're gonna do them both together?
Yes.
All right. So Kent Family Farm, existing agricultural operation. What they're looking to do is cider sales and processing, production on site. Let me go. So as you can see, the aerial, obviously an active agricultural operation with apple trees. Let's go to the slideshow. So production and sale of cider on site, renovate existing structure. Also going to have a historic display on site. And those small events are for community agriculture association kind of meetings. So really small. Got a lighting cut sheet, so the lighting is actually good for the site too. And so there's just additional parking, as you can see, that they're proposing. You got some renovation to existing structures, no new, not too many, one new building being proposed on site.
Recommendations, Rob?
That's I believe this was just a health department comment. They're proposing a new sewer. A new septic system. So just to get that health department approval.
So move, Mike Baden.
Second, McLaughlin.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any abstentions? Any opposed? Motion passes with the required mod on the health department. Okay. Town of New Paltz, any recusals?
Amanda.
Thank you.
Town of New Paltz. So this
271
is
Main.
You all right?
271.
Okay, 271 Main. So it's the Tops Plaza, New Paltz Plaza. You have the diner, and here Tesla is proposing 9 EV charging stations, and they're going to be located over in this location right here. Staff recommends approve, and also staff is considering updating the exception agreement to exempt these types of facilities from needing to be referred. But that's just
McLaughlin moves it.
Motion to accept. Geo makes a motion to accept.
Okay. All right, we have
Second.
a motion from Vince, Geo second. Any abstentions? Any opposed? Motion passes. Is approved. Okay, 107 Main Street. Any recusals? Amanda, you recused?
Wait, which one is this?
This is Village.
This is now 107.
Yeah, no, I'm not recusing from the village.
Okay, Village, sorry.
Murray.
So here we go in the Village. The former Murphy's Irish Pub is expanding with the deck. It's going to be a new restaurant location. So I'll show you the slide. So as you can see, the parking doesn't really change. There's a new fence to match the existing in size. And then there's a proposed deck in the back, so with some landscaping. So it's actually an upgrade to the site. No county impact on that.
McCarthy.
Second.
Hayden, second.
One of the issues on that site is cars getting in and out of that driveway and making left-hand turns onto 299.
That's all of Main Street.
Right. They can go through, there's another access around the back they can do.
Okay. We have a motion and we have a second. Any abstentions? Any opposed? Motion passes for both. All right, Plattekill. Let's go to the floating zone.
All right. So we got a new floating zone in the town of Plattekill. And it's going to occur all over the state highways. And there's certain minimum thresholds on 32, 44, 55. So it has to have a minimum of 15 usable acres. And we're going to get back to the usable comment in a little bit. And it has to have 50 foot of frontage on 32 or 44, 55. The bulk standards are essentially ad hoc. And it's at the town board's discretion, depending on what the proposed use is. Principal use, site plan review, anything that's in the existing underlying zoning code. And then you have special permit uses, which you can see in the list on the slide, which includes things like active adult senior housing, mixed use projects of the allowed uses, warehouses, hotels, solar, things of that nature. We know that the town has out there a proposed senior nursing home residence, which would fit this overall category, and that's probably part of this. One other note is that if you have a parcel that has a single family home on it, it has to be subdivided off before you could apply to be in this floating zone. So while it grants a certain amount of flexibility, comment is it's a great opportunity to ask for a lot more. There are a lot of basic things. It's left to a lot of discretion on the part of the town board based on whatever the concept that's there and on the planning board, but there's no real design goals associated with it. So it's really an opportunity for the town. And I have these as required mod, but they might be better as advisory comments, but I'll leave that up to you all. So just different goals for sustainability that they should consider, materials, energy options, EV charging stations, low impact design for stormwater. There are different things that they could be requiring as part of that concept plan that they show.
Yeah, and we would use the county's design guidelines as a reference. We would reference the county's design guidelines.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and one of the reasons I want to make this required modifications in my mind is that we have an opportunity here to essentially say that if you're going to allow these types of flexibility, you should provide for affordable housing in
Right.
here as well.
Right. That was the one of the
That's the key in my mind. And, you know,
right. So
I would not want that to be an advisory recommendation.
Right. I forgot about the affordable housing part. Yes, that should be a required mod. So that should all be a required mod. We did have advisory comment about the buildable acres, which included a comment about, which is kind of weird, about 20% of floodplains was part of buildable acres. The town of Plattekill is the one town in Ulster County that doesn't have floodplains mapped. So we're wondering how they even accomplish that.
So they're saying it's buildable if it's in a floodplain, but they don't have a floodplain map. Is that what you're saying?
Plattekill is one of the only towns, is the only municipality in Ulster County that did not have to have a floodplain map because it was not designated as having any floodplains.
Okay.
And therefore, any mention of floodplain should not even be in this law.
Okay.
I don't think Marlborough has floodplains either.
Yeah, you do, along the Hudson River.
Yeah, Plattekill is the only town not mapped.
So is buildable, oh, sorry. Is buildable equal to usable? Is that the confusion of what's a usable?
Correct. I mean, you have these calculations where you take out things like steep slopes, like usually it's 15% or more. Those are percent steep slopes are taken out, and you create a calculation based on.
It's usually used to calculate density that consider, you know, where you don't take the total land out, but you say, like Rob said, if it's a steep slope, it's only valued at 25% of an acre to calculate your density. So it's removing the land that can't be built on to calculate. But I agree with Tom, floodplain should not be mentioned if they don't have floodplain maps.
Yeah.
It shouldn't
That
be
was
in the code
that's
law.
why we made the advisory comment. You can't take 20%.
I would make it a required mod. I wouldn't make it advisory.
I have a couple other things I did note when I looked through it quickly. I didn't do an in-depth read of it. They make mention of slopes of greater than 20%. The only problem with that, the rest of the code always refers to any, you got to figure on slopes, take out slopes greater than 15%. So having this law being at 20% and all the rest of the code being at 15% is not good. They also have, well, where it was mentioned, the 50-foot right-of-way going in, which is equivalent to a road, but like some other things, if you have a big use in the back and you have one access, if you put a boulevard style road to get access in case one lane was closed, or if the one point is closed down so you can use the other side of the boulevard to get in and out, that's not going to be possible on a 50-foot right away. So if it's an industrial thing, I think they need to be a little bit wider than the 50-foot.
So let me see where I'm at, and I'm going to push back, Tom, on your.
That's fine on this one. Yeah,
on the 50-foot, I think I'm going to push back a little bit. So my understanding would be the required. Nobody has any issues with the required modifications that we're talking about. Mr. Bodden wants to make the advisory one a required modification, and then Tom wants to make sure that we have consistency between the required slope issues, and they would all be required modifications. Does that satisfy the board?
And
yep.
There's one other thing I notice. Well, a couple other things. In the definitions too, they talk about usable area. They use the term not usable area. Yeah, usable area, or no, it was before usable. The definitions, usable areas was on the slope, and the 100-year floodplains, which there isn't. But in one section there on page 19, D3, under O, it says other significant features, they could be subtracted, and significant features is, to me, seem without any definition of what significant features is, seems to be very subjective. And I'm not sure if they should go in a little more detail, since the bulk is going to be set by the town board, which is very subjective as it is. They can approve.
Yeah, I see this as the town is gonna get a concept plan for this as part of the rezoning. That's what I see this happening.
Yeah, and the other part was, in the past, they did not refer to the planning board for comments as required under town law, but just said because a couple of planning board members were on the committee that it didn't need planning board approval because that was planning board oversight, and it wasn't. That was one reason why I recused before on something, but I didn't really need to since it wasn't sent to the planning board, but I should have.
State law requires it to be sent to the planning board.
I know.
So if they're not following the state law, that's beyond
we need
us.
to make comment that this should, even though the planning board and the town board have the same consultant, and there probably won't be any things to cover their own, so that our Article 78 is not.
So, all right, I'm following you, Tom. So I'm sorry, guys. There's like 4 more pages of this stuff to go through. So my sense would be is that all of the stuff I just mentioned, and then we'd add a comment that we would remind them of the state that the reminder should be put in the statute with regard to the state statute for referral to the planning board.
Right.
Does that make everybody happy?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll make that motion, Mike Baden.
Is there a second?
I'll second, Drew.
Thank you. Were there any recusals on this?
No, there weren't.
None. Okay. Any abstentions? Any opposed? With required mods, it's approved. Now we're in town of Rochester. Any recusals?
Mike Baden.
Okay.
Actually, is this the one that for the EEO?
This is for Walnut Brook.
Okay, yes, Mike Baden recused.
Yeah, this is the only one I have from the town of Rochester. So.
Okay.
With all deliberate speed, Robert.
Yes. Okay. So this is a former Maybrook Lodge property. It's before the town board for consideration in addition to the town's EEO overlay district, which as a primary purpose is for adaptive reuse. What they're proposing to do is multifamily. So it's, I believe, I have it written down. I'll switch to the other slide, but it's a former hotel development. Let's see. So, let me go back.
Going the wrong way.
All right. So 24 units, 40 bedrooms on 15.4 acres, 2 disturbed. So
we're considering a zoning map amendment, right, Rob?
Yeah, it's a zoning map amendment is what this is. So, like I said, you have conversions of the mostly existing structures for multifamily use, and then you have along the frontage of 209, you see these 3 clusters of buildings. Those are new row houses or townhouses. Those are.
So from my perspective, looking at this, so the board understands, the purpose for this EEO zone was exactly what this applicant is proposing. It was for the revitalization and rehabilitation of existing properties in the area where the zone was allowed to take place. So my sense is the board should strongly support the idea that what the applicant is proposing to do is essentially consistent with what the purpose of the zone. But in order for the zone to actually the actual zoning to take effect, there needs to be essentially a completion of the State Environmental Quality Review Act that pertains to the project to which the zoning is sought. And then once that happens, then the zoning could be put in place, and then the site plan review could take place.
Right.
So we also want to say it's an adaptive reuse and a primary function of the EDO, and housing is a critical need.
Right. So.
Motion to support staff.
Who's that?
Second, McCarthy.
Drew, was you did the motion?
No, that was Watkins.
Watkins, okay, Mark, thanks.
Who made the second?
McCarthy.
Okay.
Any abstentions? Any opposed? Motion passes.
Saugerties, Robert?
Town of Saugerties.
Moving right along.
Rob, could I just request, if possible, if we can get that referral as soon as possible, it'd be very appreciated. Thank
I'll
you.
try my best.
I appreciate it.
Next month.
Lavity's recused for Saugerties.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Lavity.
Okay, this is Gambino. We saw this for a zoning amendment a month or two back where they had a split zone parcel and they wanted to do some single family. Now we're back to the subdivision. So let me just go right to the slides. All right, so you may recall this. So you had lots, you now have 5 lots. Comments with respect to it is this road here, are they going to offer session or is it going to be a public road? Also, especially since if it's not a public road, it's a private road, that's access by easement. That's a requirement. That would be a need for open development district. So we probably strongly suggest that they go for offer a session in this case. Also, this turnaround here, typically want to see a hammerhead at that location for that kind of turnaround, or just give it some sort of turning template for that.
Recommendations, Rob?
We got
Hard mod?
So now is that for that road, regardless of whether it's offer a session or not. So we need that right away. The standard, the road, if it needs to be built to the town standard, regardless of whether it's offer session or not. And that comment about the fire access, the turning movements in the hammerhead.
I'll make the motion, McLaughlin.
Second, Mike.
Does it include sidewalks?
Not in that, no, they did not.
Out there anyway.
Any abstentions? Any opposed? Required mods, passes with required mods. Saugerties Village. Any recusals?
Bear with me a second.
Okay. This is for both on 190.
Okay, so what we have here is Ulster 190 Ulster Avenue in the Village of Saugerties. You have here is an existing car wash owned by Sawyer's.
Okay.
What you're going to be doing is converting it to be an ice cream parlor. And so basically that whole building along the front goes away and you have this access. You then have 3 points of access here, 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 which are all existing to serve this ice cream parlor with a lot of parking. This is your asphalt seating area in there. So what we like to really ask them to do is consider closing up one of these access points. As part of this, you're going to have people in here, a lot of walking movements and 3 different vehicular movements. Let me go to the, oh, I have this. Let me turn off the annotation up there. There we go. That's what it looks like right now. And we note that this is a 2-story building. You can see that there's that area out there. Just as an advisory comment, when you see this parcel and you see where it's set back, there looks like there's a lot of opportunities to move it, do an alternate with the building toward the front, really section off where the pedestrian area is, provide for landscaping, make it a. There's better ways to do this site, but we'll just make an advisory comment. They might want to look at alternatives for layouts, but the required mod really is with respect to this.
And landscaping, right, Rob? Landscaping?
Landscaping and the access. And part of the landscaping comment can be buffer that asphalt area where the ceiling is.
Okay.
I'll make the motion.
Second, Cunha.
Oh, and the bike rack is required mod too.
Yeah.
Is the second floor supposed to be for the ice cream parlor too?
We don't know.
I don't know. Don't know if it's an apartment or if it's just like an office space or if it's actually real. I don't know. It looks like a real second story to me.
I was told no.
No. Okay, so it's just a architectural element. Okay.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any abstentions? Any opposed? Motion passes with required mods. Shandaken, any recusals?
Vivian? No? Okay.
Yes, I am recused.
Okay, so this is the former Uncle Pete's, and it was and is still, let me make sure I'm on the right slide here. There we go. So it was an 80 site campground as Mr. Pete's, and it's still going to be an 80 site campground, but it's just drastically upgraded and modified. We do have a neg draft a declaration with respect to it. It's off a county route, so need DPW. You'll see on a future slide that entrance is gravel. That's going to have to conform to DPW regulations for pavement along that frontage. Fire access, confirm fire access for the road, internal roads in here. Let's see. It's going to need let me go right straight to the required modification side. This result, quite a few.
Can you show the structures, Rob?
Yeah, I'll go through it.
Yep.
It isn't just important to note those red areas are not just floodplain areas, but they're actually what's called severe flood areas, flood damage areas. So nothing is being proposed to be built in those areas. This is the landscaping plan for the site. That's the lighting. Lighting is okay for the site. That's the access point I was talking about. They're going to need about at least 20 foot of paving at that access point. It's one of the buildings. So you have a lot of these tents, which are anchored in place, and then the steps and ladders have like pins in them so they don't move during the flood. They kind of sort of all flood resistant structures. And they're built on tiers. So you can see you have for that one, you have a bathroom in the middle, and it's basically like a shared tent suite is what it is. So they're going to need a speedies permit from stormwater for the state. They'll need public water supply approval from the county health department. They're going to need New York State DEC for wastewater, New York City DEP for wastewater and stormwater disturbance. They're going to have to adhere to New York State flood protection law and adherence to, they do have an evacuation plan in place, but they have to adhere to it. Access comment I made, and just some sort of emergency access plan with respect to that bridge.
You just want to make sure that the bridge, that the fire trucks can get across it. That's the main thing.
Right.
Question, McLaughlin here. Would it hurt to have our own emergency managers take a look at it?
No, we don't want to involve emergency management. Wouldn't comment on it, Vince. They don't comment on these types of things. They leave it to the local folks.
The only reason why is because there's been so many evacuations up there over the years where the county's gotten involved. Way too many. I like to see somebody at our level take a look at this.
Well, they have an evacuation plan that's out here.
Is it current?
Yes, it's going to be changed. It's going to be changed and updated as part of this program, as part of this application.
They have a PA system, which really is only used for evacuation event emergencies.
Motion to support staff comments, Mike Baden.
All right, thank you very much.
Do we have
Do I have a second?
Who seconded?
I didn't hear a second.
I'll second it, Wilkin.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any abstentions? Any opposed? Motion passes with required modes.
Okay.
On to, where are we, Ulster? Central Hudson.
Almquist here recused.
Thank you, Frank.
All right. Central Hudson Gas. This is off Hurley Avenue. We reviewed this, I think, last year for an expansion towards 209 and the rail trail. We talked about fencing, and Central Hudson was really accommodating with respect to that. So now what we're seeing is an expansion that goes more towards Hurley Avenue. There's existing land vegetation. You can't see it from here. If I brought the 3D in the Google Maps, you'd see that this is all, you can pretty much, this is heavily vegetated all in there.
You can't see it from the road. You can.
No, you really can't. Here's the slide. So as you can see, the expansions in the front, they connect in with the 30 line. They come in here and then they go back out again. There's no kind of impact with respect to this.
Motion to support staff, Watkins.
Second it, McLaughlin.
Okay. We have a motion and we have a second. Any abstentions? Any opposed? Motion carries. No county impact. Town of Ulster, Frank, you recused on this one too?
Almquist again.
Thank you.
All right, LHV precast. We reviewed this a few times, and what's occurring now is that the previously approved site plan had to change because they had an issue with the contractor, and now they're proposing a slightly different thing where it's 14,000 square feet for a precasting facility and a 7,000 square foot batch plant on this. It's off Ulster Landing Road. As you can see, it's already heavily intense industrial operation here. So what they're proposing is that. Not that much of a significant difference from the original site. There's no county impact on that.
Motion to accept. Collier.
Second, Mike Baden.
Watkins.
Okay. We have a motion, we have a second. Any abstentions?
Almquist again.
Any opposed? Motion carries. No county impact. Almquist, I have you recused on this one.
Yeah.
Pioneer.
Yep. I am recused.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. Okay, Pioneer. 5 megawatt community solar array. Okay, let me just go to the aerial real quick. Tell you where it is better. That's Shandaken. Here we go.
That's it. You got it now.
So this is you can see the freeway, you can see Tech City over here, but that's across Saltkill Road, and so you have this lot in here for solar. So it's the site's all up here. As you can see, it slopes down pretty significantly all along here. So it's all around. Somebody needs to mute again. I'm hearing myself twice. Okay, thanks. Let me go back to the PowerPoint. So as you can see, that's where solar array is. One, they have wildlife fencing with respect to it. Let's see, where is my annotation?
They give you grading, Rob?
No, they did not give us a grading plan, and the SWIP is forthcoming. And one of the things we want to see is this is very close to 209. We don't know what this looks like from 209. We like to see some sort of visualization or see what's occurring, because we know there's over 20 acres of disturbance with respect to this, and they're going to need to provide a SWIP with respect to this. Let me move the hillshade, which is on the next slide. is telling too. So you can see that extreme slope on the east side from the hillside. Said I don't have a grading plan, but that's just what it looks like from a computer model. So
Yeah,
stormwater is the big comment here.
Yeah, I mean, my sense would be is we do a required modification, but my sense is, yeah, re-referral. Thanks, Rob. I see it now.
Yeah. So re-referral is at the top of that list. Sawkill Road access, so you need DPW. No decommissioning plan was actually submitted, so they need that. They checked off Indiana bat and long-eared bat on their list, but didn't provide endangered species analysis. SWIP, maintenance comment that we like to make with respect to these, make sure that no changes in grading, and there's going to be a lot of, we don't know what the grading changes are going to be with this. That it's very key. View buffer from 209.
Rob, what about the view buffer from the throughway with that downhill slope?
Yeah, I don't know what it'll look. They should do view shed analysis from all
we should
sides.
include the throughway as well as 209.
Yeah,
that's fine.
But Mike, I've actually been up on the site a long time ago, but the way the site slopes, it comes up and then it drops off sharply. I would tend to think that you're never going to see this because
because
it's so far down.
Yeah, the height of these is going to be about 15 feet, so it's you're probably right. It's not going to be seen.
I mean, they could show us that you can't see it. You may as well just make them show.
I mean, they could at least do a view shed analysis and say it can't be seen, but here's where it can be seen from.
I think that's legitimate. I think we can do that.
So can they do some kind of habitat assessment besides just these endangered species? Because that's a lot of clearing.
They should do a full habitat endangered species report on this site.
Yeah.
Rob, this is Mitchell Cohen. I just want to expand on what Amanda said. I think the governor I know the state of New York put out a new order regarding looking into the endangered species more detail than in the past. So there's something that's out that recently came out. I heard it because of my secretary in the planning board. And so I'm just recommending that because that's a lot of acreage that they're going to be disturbing for, habitats.
Yeah,
whatever.
It's habitat mitigation is what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that should all be covered in their wildlife management plan.
Yep.
They should be looking at, the impact they have on carbon sequestration too. That's a lot of vegetation.
I mean, I saw what happened to Olive. They cut down 21 acres of trees. You can't tell me that they're not going to disturb habitats, 21 acres of trees.
So we'll basically ask for sort of a habitat report that includes endangered species as part of those required modifications.
Can you include carbon sequestration impact as well?
That's up to the board.
Okay.
I can tell you from experience in Rochester, I've seen the statistics. We cut down about 15 acres of medium wooded area, and in 1 year the numbers it's not even close of the amount if it was left undisturbed versus the amount that was saved through the amount of solar that was produced. So it's the solar is, I understand people think cutting down trees is an issue, but turning it into solar is considerable benefit. And the numbers do show it.
That's a personal opinion.
Well, the numbers show it. It's an opinion based on the numbers.
So let them do the analysis and show it.
Understood. I'm just saying the numbers do prove it.
So I take it that NISDOT and the Thruway Authority is going to take a look at this?
Well, not NISDOT, it's a DPW. It's a county road.
Yeah, but because of the close proximity to the Thruway Authority.
No, it's not proximity to the throughway, Vince. It's quite a ways away from the throughway.
Is it?
Yeah.
What about? Well, yeah. I mean, there's no access.
There's no access. There's no, yeah.
209 in Sawkill.
What we'll do with the carbon sequestration, we'll take a quick look at the staff, and if it warrants a comment, we'll look at Mike's numbers and contact NYSERDA. If it warrants a comment, we'll make the comment.
That's good.
Is there any plan for battery backup on this?
I didn't see one.
Let me look. Yeah, there's nothing on the plan for it.
It would be surprised if it's not there, but we didn't see it.
quite frankly, that's not a real site plan. All I
No,
got.
so I'm saying, this is far from a real, this should come
No.
back. That's the main thing we should say is this should
So
come back,
let's just have it re-referred.
you know? And that's what the primary recommendation is.
Yep, okay. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it, McLaughlin.
Thank you, Scott. Any, a second?
Who was the second?
Second, Drew.
Thank you.
Drew, thank you.
That would be Vince here that, my
Yeah,
name,
it's like- no. Thank you, Vince. Okay, any abstentions? Any opposed? Motion passes as a re-refer. Okay, Wawarsing. Any recusals? Mill and Main, let's talk.
All right, Kerhonkson, Mill and Main. This is right next to Town Hall and Fire. Actually, the fire department, I should say. So right across this old downtown Kerhonkson right here. And what they're proposing to do is this building here. They're going to renovate to a restaurant. And let me go to my slideshow. So restaurant, retail, apartment use. 2 apartments in it. That's what it looks like right now. So 36-seat restaurant, 7-seat bar, outdoor dining in the back, and they're going to have coffee bar, grocery, and then residential rentals, 2 rental apartments. So that's what it looks like right now. The building on the left is the one we're talking about. And then you see the outdoor dining in the back of the building there. And then there's actually also a plan for on-street parking. And our comment with that is coordinating with the fire district, which is right next door to it. Make sure they have adequate room to get fire vehicles out. At this location on this street, that parking isn't really an issue, but it's more about the fire safety. And actually, we find that.
Do we have a required modification with respect to adherence to the New York State, to the flood protection statute? Because this is in a floodplain.
No, we didn't make that comment.
We should. Let's add that as a required mod.
So adherence to the
flood protection, New York, the town of Wawarsing local law, because I got to imagine there's more than 51% of the value of this building in terms of its renovation, and that means they're going to have to meet the flood protection statute. I don't know how they're going to do it. So, but let them figure it out.
That's a good point.
All right, so required mod, then advisory and we'll make a required mod about the fire access as well.
Yeah.
Dennis, this was one of the properties that was in that Brownfields Opportunities Area study that we did.
Right.
So
Yeah,
it's,
I mean, I fully believe that these properties either remain vacant and worthless, or we have to find a way. I mean, my sense would be is they could actually maybe issue a waiver from the floodplain statute.
yeah.
I'd much rather see the property rehab than sit there vacant, but you can't ignore the statute.
Agreed.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion, Conyer.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Mike Baden will second.
Thank you, Mike. Any abstentions? Any opposed? Motion passes with required mods and advisory comments. Okay, Wawarsing, Wager Farms. Any recusals? Okay, go ahead.
All right, just one moment. So I'm realizing
These are the last 2, Dennis.
We're headed in the right direction, as they say.
All right, let's see. I'm gonna do let's see. Am I still on the PowerPoint here? Yes. Okay.
Yep, you're up.
Okay, so it's a farm events venue under the new law, but it is also an ag district. So there's a question here. Well, first let me go through it. They want 18 per year. The statute requires 12 as a maximum, so they would need to seek some sort of variance on that. They're well under the statute limits of 110 of I think it's 250 for the statute. They had 110 guests. It's off Ulster Heights Road, which is a county route. Required modifications or the number of events I mentioned. And let me do a share on here. Let's see. So this is the site plan with it.
Classic.
It's a little bit last minute site plan grab. So parking is just under what they have. They need 75, they have 65. Statute basically calls for one space for every two. So they need to make some show where they can find additional parking. Also, not entirely sure what the surface is for all the parking areas. I know the one in the northern area is, this is gravel, but I'm not sure if this is gravel or grass proposed. So if it's grass, it may need some shoring up. Let's see.
They need Cape Road's a county road, right, Rob?
Yeah, well, yeah, Ulster Heights Road, Cape Road is a county road, yeah.
So they need DPW approval, right?
Yes, I have that, I think, in there. Pedestrian access they had, that was an original comment. They should have lighting details, the parking comment, health department approval, and they also have to characterize whether this event, how it relates to ag and markets law. Is it an agricultural event, or is it is it subject to this law?
Robert, can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, this is Victor. The events law really part of the problem with this is it's this kind of a density. The neighbors there weren't happy the way the other business was running there. It is on a county road, and they need some kind of a noise buffer. And I think the what do they call that? The events law says 11 o'clock, and the town noise ordinance is
right
10 o'clock. There's a lot of homes. There's a lot of homes close. The density is close with the neighbors.
Right. I can tell you.
They have to have some kind of a noise buffer there.
Right.
Because
can I interrupt you for a sec? Because it's in their management plan. It's going to all be inside the barn. No acoustic, no amplified sounds outdoors, and all events are going to end at 10 o'clock. Was the way they were going to do it.
Well, in the past, it's like I've seen like hundreds of people there. I know there's the events law says, was it 100 or 125 or I don't remember what it is. But they're going to have some kind of a noise buffer there. And whoever, is this going to be a bed and breakfast?
Not proposed.
It's events. No overnight stays. And also, they also said they'd be monitoring the noise on events as part of their events plan.
Well, the neighbors were complaining about it quite broadly, and the 12 events is more in line with what, because it's on a county road. The Lundy bed and breakfast place is in the middle and kind of remote. I'll use the word remote. That's fair enough. It's very rural. This is not so rural now. So 12 events would be fine.
Rob, can you go to your recommendations? So that's what part of our comments: pedestrian access, lighting, landscaping, parking meets the health department approval, et cetera, and the characterization of the events. The reason for the characterization of the events is if they're holding events that are consistent with ag and markets law, the town can't limit those number of events. So we don't know what the events they're holding, but if they're holding events that are open to the general public and meet the requirements of ag and markets law, I don't believe that they can, because it isn't an ag district. I don't believe that the town can regulate it, but that's just me. But with respect to noise, Rob answered your question with respect to noise. They've given us the data that we need with respect to noise.
Well, you're saying this is an ag district there, Dennis? Hello?
I thought it was. If you're telling me it's not, it's not.
Well, when it was before, it was used solely as a bed and breakfast of occupancies.
But I think it's still in an ag district. I think we still show it as being in an ag district. So.
Well, there was some questions. I don't know. I talked to the supervisor the other day and about how it opened up. And
Vince, what I'm trying to do, Vince, is tell you that I think we've addressed
Vince is the other guy.
I think we're trying to address your concerns. Your one concern with respect to noise, I think the applicant has indicated to us how he's going to deal with the noise issue. The number of events question, which you asked, is one of the questions that we're raising with respect to required modifications. And then the other questions we're raising is with respect to access to the roads and landscaping, et cetera.
It's no longer an ag district parcel.
Okay, thanks, Rob. So we'll remove that question we'll remove that comment with respect to ag districts. I thought you.
Thank you, Robert and Dennis.
Yep. Does that help you, Vince? I mean,
Victor. I've
sorry,
been Victor for a long time now, Dennis.
Yeah, I know.
My mom and dad picked that out. I didn't pick it out,
Okay.
All right, that I'm happy with that. But the 12 events on the main road, it's a highway.
Yeah.
It's actually the one thing, Dennis, in the summertime and in the late spring, it is a very busy road.
Yeah, and that's why the recommendation is to work with DPW for that access point.
Oh, right. Yeah. By the way, there is no municipal sewer up there either.
Yeah.
Just wanted to clarify that.
Right. Well, that's why we said health department.
And the health department's going to be involved in that.
And Vince will make the motion.
Thank you, Vince.
Sorry.
Second it.
My apologies, Victor.
Gee golly, thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Any abstentions? Any opposed?
Who was the second, by the way? I'm sorry,
Conyer.
Jeremy. Mr.
Conyer.
Conyer, thank you.
Okay. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes with the required mods as discussed. And that is the end of our items.
Oh, we got one more.
No,
Woodstock.
no, I don't have Woodstock on my list. Can't buy them. Okay, Woodstock.
The latest list.
Okay. Any recusals?
Okay, 8-foot front yard variance for a generator. There's no county impact on that.
Motion to support, staff.
Second, Conyer.
Okay. Now can we, any abstentions? Motion passes. Any opposed?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.